Hi, I'm Jono. Today we're doing Grill the DM. I am here with my forever DM, Fred Lee.
Hello.
Fred, today we're here to grill your last campaign. I've got a few questions about it. Can you unpack it for us? Are you willing to do that today?
The Doc has campaign.
That's right.
So
I want the briefest of overviews.
the briefest overview. I cannot remember that campaign.
Finished 2 weeks ago.
Like, what happened? What was it?
Dragon spheres.
Dragon Spheres. That was it. We were going to do. I'm already writing the next campaign, so I'm not in that campaign at all. So the Dragon Spheres, long ago, 1,000 years ago, the dragon sorcerer who held the 2 dragon spheres held control over all of the empire, and it was peaceful, it was good, it was great. Someone assassinated him, or he dropped them, or something happened, and the spheres were lost, and the world schismed, and all magic that was holding the incredible buildings collapsed, and society had to rebuild itself. Magic was banned, and in Dokaz, the human citadel, they had highly regulated magic now. You had to license, you had to go, wizards had to go to the magical island of Namast and get their wizarding licenses, and that's how magic was regulated. And anyway, they all held the orcs in deep suspicion in the north because they believed they had one of the dragon spheres. And it was long foretold that a dragon sorcerer would come and take the spheres, and magic would be restored to its how it was supposed to be. The elves, the last magical race, had taken themselves through the mountains to the Sunny Isle, and there they used their last bit of magic to feed all of Dokaz because they felt responsible for having let the ball drop.
So now, Fred, you're talking about what you first envisioned this campaign to be, but I played in this campaign. And Fred, this is not what the campaign was actually like at all.
It's not.
Can you talk me through some of the characters that played in the campaign?
One of the main characters in my group was played by yourself, who was Cabbage.
Mm-hmm.
Cabbage was a lovely little furbolg ranger, as he told everyone, who liked to create nature and grow things, and he just wanted to know what your favourite vegetable was, and wanted to make the world a garden. And he had left the Woad, a magical woodland that was quite hostile to live in, and he left there to just seek the world and to learn more about his heritage, and discovered that he himself was actually a natural born sorcerer. Wasn't allowed to tell anyone. Once in a generation a sorcerer is born, and he was that guy. But because magic was outlawed and he wasn't trained, he had to keep that secret.
Yeah.
We had a few other. We had Flick, the rogue, who was an absolute agent of chaos, who didn't really aspire to anything other than undoing whatever was being done.
Yeah.
We had a wizard who absolutely loved fire.
Yeah.
I hated that guy. Hated that guy. He, what was his name? Finrod. Finrod was the name. Finrod was absolute chaos. It didn't matter what situation we were in. He had a great idea that made everything worse, and it did lead to his demise. He eventually was killed in the pirate town.
No, he wasn't, but you don't remember that.
He wasn't killed in the pirate town.
He wasn't. He survived till the end.
I got meteorited to death in the final battle.
Oh, that's Finrod. Who was the other guy?
Garrett.
Garrett.
Daggerfell.
Garrett's who I'm thinking of. He's the guy that ruined. Finrod, I liked. Finrod was a good guy. No, Garrett, he was the guy that died in the pirate town, and his zombie kind of stalked that region for quite a while.
Yeah. Okay. Zombies, fire magic, cabbages. This doesn't sound like the setting you once described.
Well, that's the thing. So you write the story as the Dungeon Master. You envision it. I take inspiration from Tolkien because he's the OG DM, isn't he? He created the entire world, all of that lore, that back history. He was in the Third Age, which means he knew what happened in the Second and the First Age. And if you've read the Silmarillion, you know how the world came into being. I'm not that bad. I'm not that bad. But what I do is I build my world. I work out what happened where, and I even changed the name of places. So Dochaz was formerly known as Dromail, but eventually it became Dochaz, which is the Gaelic word for hope. So it was meant to be a story of hope. It didn't go that way.
It didn't go that way.
That was my optimistic seeing how the campaign was going. And you write it, and then you let your players loose in that world.
Yeah.
And if you're truly a sandbox campaign, they can go anywhere. They can interact with whoever. They can start civil wars in pirate towns, despite that meant to be very cloak and dagger intrigue. They can go to the capital of Dochaz, and you think that what they're going to do is make enquiries and be polite in the court and try and find out where the dragon spheres are, and maybe find the dragon lance that can kill the dragon if it should ever come back. And instead what they do is do a Gordon Ramsay MasterChef style competition where they rate potential young chefs to go service their kitchen in their castle in the Woad. You're not ready for any... You've got to be ready for every eventuality.
That does sound like a strange way to spend their time with the capital.
Or just a genuinely strange way to spend an evening role-playing that with... we're all professionals in real life, but at the table, it descends into whatever it descends into.
It was lots of fun. I regret nothing. What was the best moment from your campaign? What was the moment that you look back and remember and go, that was absolutely awesome?
Well, I remember laughing so hard I could barely breathe, which is normally how I rate a session.
So most of us do, I'm sure.
I think that was when I had two characters go around the capital, and I had to make a montage of them going from the bank to the zoo because they'd hired a government agent who was going to help them take down this great evil. And before they left the city, they wanted to see the zoo. So they went to the zoo and met and had a word, because Cabbage could speak with dragons. Yeah. The dragon that was the main exhibition in the zoo, you had a chat with this dragon and said, "I'll come save you, I'm really sorry, but can I take a quick selfie?" Click. And so you and the dragonborn friend... Velcro the dragon, and this agent, the sword of the capital, or whatever his name was, the Scepter.
The Scepter.
He was the Scepter. He was going to rid you of the demonic presence in the Woad. And he was on board, and he got a T-shirt, and he joined. It was wonderful. And that was all off the cuff, but so funny.
So funny.
And actually, it was that conversation with the dragon that at the end of the camp, in the finale, you found yourselves fighting against the Green Dragon, cast Enlarge on him, and used him to your advantage. Did that bro moment of high-fiving, and took on the big bad. It was glorious.
We did, didn't we? But and I remember that because you hadn't planned that before.
I don't know if I plan anything anymore.
Well, and that's how you run all your sessions now, isn't it? It's completely sandboxed, basically running nothing beyond the setting. Does that always work out for you?
No, I mean, workout is subjective. So my players seem to come back every campaign. My players come back for the next campaign because they're like, I want more of that insanity, and that's what it is. And I'm okay. I'm okay with that as long as they're having fun. I'm having a great time. But that's why I go so heavy in writing the world beforehand.
I want to draw your attention to a bit in the campaign, and you can see if you recall it for me. We had a deck of many things come out in our campaign.
Terrible. Every time. And
it massively accelerated the end of our campaign. That campaign could have gone on, because you meticulously plotted this campaign so much. It could have spanned for years. We could have played this campaign for years.
I had enough material still to redo the campaign. It would be a totally different thing.
Exactly. It could have been in different areas of the world. But it didn't. It had this deck of many things, and we went, we'll have the dragon spheres. Now, that ended in quite an epic fight. But would you have done that the same way? Again, if you could redo it.
I mean, I love the deck of many things just because it rolls this grenade into your campaign and goes, poof, someone might die, which someone did. I think they had the soul sucked out and they became a Horcrux somewhere in the world. Yeah.
Poor Sprout.
And that can happen. And someone else got tons of XP, which I think was your character.
It was.
And it's just one of those things. And I enjoy... I think people like that physical aspect to it. And in that same campaign setting, I've got another group still in that campaign because I split the timeline so that now they're carrying on where you guys have left. And actually this thing, so this is something I got at Comic-Con, and he found this in a room that you guys entered and didn't investigate. He went in the same room, investigated, found this, and drank it, and is now a fully fledged vampire.
Right.
And slowly but surely, the rest of the group are converting into vampires. He's persuading everyone to join him in his what's basically a cabal. And they are going to try and infect the Kraken with vampiricism so that everywhere. And so where Finrod died under the meteorite, they've now made that their home and is establishing that as their vampire base.
Right. And they're playing an evil campaign, presumably, are they?
No, they're meant to be heroes.
Oh.
They are evil, and they've not accepted it yet. It's about coming to terms with your denial, which is actually the campaign.
I see. Okay. So, a few more questions. When we were running that campaign, you were running it so there was a separate party in the same timeline that you were playing with on a Wednesday or something, and we were playing on a Sunday. And there was kind of talks of we would do something and they would mess it all up again, and we were affected by what was happening in each campaign. You run that kind of session quite a lot, don't you? All within the same world and run at the same time. Is that fun for players? And does it have positives and does it have negatives? What's your take on it?
I like the fact that players get a little taste of their own medicine where they try and derail my campaign, always unaware that it's not possible because my campaign goes where you take it. But they enjoy the chaos. And so having real humans on a Wednesday impact the world that has a direct consequence for the people on Sunday, I find very entertaining. And I think my players do. Like at one point, years ago, I had a guy who was escorting the consul from the capital to the dwarves, and my other group were chasing this purple lizard man who had the consul, and they had been told he'd kidnapped him, whereas poor Greg was escorting him. And so this group were chasing Greg for months, like every week on week, and they find he's gone again. Like, why can't we find him? And Greg knew he was being pursued by a group of bandits, and the two groups didn't know that it was a real person they were chasing. And Greg, bless him, he lost his character, he died, and the consul was killed. But this group didn't know that, and so they ended up running straight past the encounter. And I find that real world it makes it feel more real. Having it, you never know what actions you do on a Sunday might affect for the Wednesday and vice versa.
And what happens when these two parties meet?
I mean, it's never happened yet. I had it so close in my Ancient Greece campaign. We had it where some of you worked for the Titans, some of you worked for the Olympians, and the finale of that campaign was going to be the two groups battling it out because you'd taken opposite sides of the same conflict, and that would have been brilliant.
But doesn't someone have to be a loser?
With D&D, if you lose a character, you start a new campaign, and that's a beautiful cycle.
What about the people that are so attached to their characters?
And that's the harsh reality. I always run a campaign where death has to be something to fear, otherwise there's no consequences to what you do.
Okay.
And indeed, it's so easy to respawn that there being something eventually that makes it, no, you're going to have to tear up your character sheet, start again. I think that makes the stakes feel more real.
There's something beautiful about the stakes being real.
But like my brother still won't play D&D with me because he's still in love with his first character who died, he felt unjustly. And it's only 8 years. He will get over it one day. But he's still not forgiven the loss of Hildebrand Chubb.
You're a good DM, Fred, and you've been my DM for many years, and you got me into D&D, 7 years ago?
Yeah,
6 years ago, something like that. You've been a DM for a long time. You've been playing for a long time, and you know lots of different ways to play, and you're very good in many ways. What are the things that you're not very good at? What would you have improved from the last campaign?
I mean, if I was doing the last campaign, I would have planned it slightly more. My life is quite chaotic, so I've done all the work to begin with, and then I approach the session, and often just leave it for the players to decide what we're doing, and I respond to that. That can lead to some really odd tangents that don't help progress the plot, and they're not necessarily that fun in the end.
Yeah.
We have fun doing it because it's ridiculous, but in hindsight, if I planned a bit more, that might improve the session. And if I take, not just planning, if I take better notes.
Notes, okay.
Because even as we started this, I could genuinely not remember the campaign you're on about. Like, and I know it happened. I was there. I was there for like a year.
Yeah.
But it's already dead to me. You know, I'm already moved on.
What about the last thing I'd say about the campaign was the players that came along. That was something that was quite hard. We had lots of like rotating players, people that couldn't make it all the time. How did that affect the campaign?
It depends. Each session kind of, you know, in the Avengers, when you get a team up and Thor has entered into Guardians of the Galaxy, it changes the movie completely.
It does.
Like, bin off that guy. I just want Chris Pratt. I just need all the Chris Pratt. Add him in, it changes the mix. And Rocket suddenly is addicted to Chris Pratt. He likes Thor. I guess D&D's like that. I loved so much the Cabbage Velcro team up in the capital.
It was fantastic.
But without the guiding voice of Finrod, you guys got a lot less done.
It's true.
You didn't get anything done apart from hiring chefs for the castle, and you got loads of money invested from a bank that you later discovered was really evil, but didn't seem to pay attention because you didn't have the actual player. And we've got some players in our group that are less creative but more logical and hold you to task.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like you guys were the two players that in Skyrim, you take coins from every urn that you come across. You don't do the direct line quest. You go on every tangent.
Roleplay heavy, I would say.
Yeah. Whereas these guys, like, you've got a mission, so let's do the mission, let's complete the mission, and then let's have fun. And it's fun to complete things. I'm okay with both. Like, as long as my players are having fun, I'm having fun.
Sure.
So if you want to complete something, let's complete it. If you want to take out a massive loan and don't talk about the interest rates, great, let's do that. There will be consequences later, which is fun to come across. Like, it's fun to go, oh yeah, this world is real in Fred's head outside of the... So I don't like that interest rate. I'm going to have to deal with it. That's still quite fun. And so players just change it. Having a rotating basis, I like a very open table. But as long as you've got the main characters, as long as Homer Simpson is in every episode, it still feels like the same campaign.
Okay, so some stability is good, but you don't mind so much if other players tag in.
Yeah.
Fair enough. What's your ideal length?
Of campaign or episode? Like every evening?
A campaign.
A campaign.
Actually, do you know what, a more interesting question? You can cut that in post.
Yeah.
I want to know what's one thing that you did in this last campaign that you thought was absolutely brilliant, and you would give it as an advice to someone else that wanted to be a DM. If you're building a campaign from the ground up that you went, do you know, the one thing I did that was utterly brilliant was that, and it really worked and it was really fun.
I don't really know. Like,
I'll pitch.
go on. What did you enjoy?
I enjoyed having a castle as a base. That had a fun element to it. I enjoyed it. One thing that always helps is the immersion is accents. You know, you had lots of different characters.
I guess, yeah. So that's something I really enjoy doing. And as a Dungeon Master, I know I sound insane, but I have conversations with people while I'm driving my car, or I'm in the shower, or I'm walking around a supermarket, and I don't mind looking mad, but I'll have conversations with these people as different people. So I'll try I'll practice different accents from around the country. You hear an accent in a movie, a radio, and you imitate it. I live in a very cosmopolitan city, so there's lots of different accents you come across all the time. Don't do it to people's faces. It's in bad taste. You often get funny looks. In your privacy of your own home, you can then try and like imitate that accent.
Yeah.
And I look cartoon characters in particular. So, and I like practice it. The other day, forgive me, but I did a thing where I wonder how your voice changes depending on the position of your jaw. So and I move it forward, and you try and sing a song like this, and you sound really odd, and it conjures images of a frog person or someone with rather low intellect. And then move it back, and suddenly you feel aloft and a little bit older. And just the positioning of your jaw conjures a personality in my head. But I've also got quite a pitch range, so I've got the ability to go deeper and really serious chatting. But I've also got really high pitch that is so wonderful. So you imagine the small gremlin creature.
Yeah.
It goes, hello there. Like, it's wonderful. And because I look like me, I'm quite thick set, I've got the beard, and I'm generally a bit bassy.
I think it does better for me because of what you look like. The
and the immersion that comes with it, because you see the small creature, and he just softens his voice. And he's like, I don't know where my mummy is. And because it's my face saying it, you can kind of see the child. You also see my face, and you go, I don't know whether to rescue this person or burn them down. Maybe Fireball is right because it's me making this voice. You'd like, that's probably possessed. Like, there's probably something like wrong there. And in the same way that like my favourite, as you know, is Brian Blessed, and just really go big, and I just love saying his name for Brian. Like, I love that guy, and I just think that in every campaign I will try and feature Brian. Probably won't call him Brian, but some like derivative of Blessed will enter in a campaign.
Right, okay.
Because I just think it spices everything up. So the multiple personalities that are allowed to come out, that's really why I do it. It's my catharsis, it's my therapy.
Yes, absolutely.
To release these people out in a contained situation rather than in the supermarket. But have you ever done a supermarket, like at the checkout?
No.
And you do a different voice to your own?
No, I'm so boring. I've literally never done that.
Like, why not? Like, you just go in there and you're like... But the worst is when I did a Scottish accent to the Scottish checkout lady.
Yeah.
Didn't know she was Scottish. And so, all right there. And then she's, all right. And mine flicked between Irish and Scottish. I've already told you before about my Spanish to French. I don't try that in public. But yeah, I go from Irish to Scottish, and then turns out she's Scottish, and then you're in this encounter going, but I did it. I made them the error, by the way. Don't do it in your local. So I did it in my local Aldi. I've got to go back there, and now I'm English, and you still get the looks because she's like,
that guy was Spanish and French.
I'm sure
last
he
week.
was Scottish. And because I love doing like an Indian accent, but there's so many times where like that's not okay. It turns out I've done some growing, I've done some learning, and like so I've not done that, but I don't mind Scottish, Irish, Liverpudlian, Manchester. But I often have the right phrase that sets the thing. Unfortunately, my Liverpudlian one is just inappropriate for setting you.
We won't go into that.
No. Whereas, like, my Irish, it's slightly offensive in that it's the very leprechaun-esque, like, tar. But then you're in your Irish and it's all right. But you're not saying leprechaun things, but you do think so that you look like a leprechaun. Because Derry Girls was fantastic. Yeah. There's the really boring uncle called Colin, who talks about like this, and it's just so boring. I love that guy for the Northern Irish one. Yeah. Would watch him all day. But anyway, that's what I could talk accents all day. If you want a podcast just on accents, could do that.
So characters is your thing then? Yeah. That was something that was really important the whole way through.
But I think that makes it engaging. No matter where you go, you feel like you've got a new person. And if my players think, oh well, Fred's got someone well-rounded, this must be important. But I'll try and give that energy to the unimportant people as well as the important people. That's what I enjoy doing. Yeah. It's not for everyone. But I think it makes people more comfortable. The more silly you are, the more freer they feel that they can be.
That's a really good point.
So I don't mind being silly. I've been told that sometimes I can, be a bit daft.
Yeah. But that's good, right? That's what we need.
Well, that's what I'm told. So I'm okay with that.
Okay, great. That's what we've got time for. But thank you for being a part of Grill the DM.
Always happy.
I hope the questions have been alright. But thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.